let's start the topic from chemistry. So we are doing chemical reaction and equations, and it is part 2. As we have already done that what are chemical changes, what is chemical reaction, we have done about the chemical equation, the chemical formulas and the balancing related to the chemical equation. So we are starting with part 2. Let's see which topics we are going to take in this video. The topics to be covered are types of chemical reactions. So as you all know that chemical reaction is actually a process in which we are mixing few substances and they give rise to a new substance. So there are different types of chemical reactions that are occurring under specific condition, or there are chemical reactions which involve the particular substances. So let's study about them. So the first chemical reaction which we are going to take up is combination reaction. Combination reaction is a reaction when two or more reactants react and they form a single product. That means the reactants can be as many, but the product is going to be single. For example, if I say that if I have carbon and I react with oxygen, so carbon and oxygen react to form carbon dioxide. So obviously the substances which are written on the left hand side, they are regarded as reactants, and the one on right are products. So in this case you can see the product is only one. So the reaction in which two or more reactants react but they form a single product, that reaction is called as combination. So I think it is clear that here the name specifies that these substances, the reactants, are just combining with each other and they form a single substance. Now, this combination reaction can occur between an element, or it can occur between an element and a compound, or it can occur between a compound and a compound. So that means any of the combination can be possible. So this is what is written here, that this reaction can be between element and element, it can be between an element and a compound, or it can be between two compounds. So let's take up the examples related to it. So if we consider element and element, let's take an example. For example, we have H2 and we react with O2, it gives rise to water. So in this case, you can see that this is an element, and they are combining to form a single product. So that means this is element-element combination reaction. The reaction can occur between an element and a compound. For example, if I say I have oxygen and I have a compound SO2. So SO2 and O2, they react to form sulfur trioxide. So this is a combination reaction in which element and compound combine with each other to form a single product. This can be between a compound and a compound. For example, if I have two compounds, let's say CO2 and we have water, they both react to form carbonic acid. So that means again they both combine to form a single product. So this is again a compound-compound combination reaction. So any of the combination can take place in the combination reaction. It can be element-element, can be element-compound, or it can be compound-compound. You can also formulate many examples related to it. Now let's take up the activity related to the combination reaction. Let's take up the activity related to the combination reaction. So what we are doing is we are taking magnesium ribbon, and as we have done that magnesium ribbon actually which we bring from market has a carbonate layer on it. So we'll rub it with sandpaper in order to remove this carbonate layer. Now when this layer is being removed, with the help of tongs we heat this magnesium ribbon. Let's say we are heating with the help of tongs. So what happened? This magnesium on heating reacts with oxygen and forms the white powder, that is magnesium oxide. And the identification property is the white dazzling flame that we can see, and also the formation of this white powder, that is magnesium oxide. In this case, this is an element, this is an element. So this is element-element combination reaction. Now let's do another type of reaction, that is decomposition reaction. Now in this type of reaction, what happens? There is a one reactant. There is a one reactant. And this reactant under certain condition breaks to form products. So in this reaction, it is compulsory the reactant has to be only one. So this is what is decomposition. So we can define it as that it is a type in which reactant breaks up into its constituents. And how it breaks up? It breaks either by heating or by passing current or in presence of light. So under these three conditions, the reactant breaks and it forms respective products. In this reaction, the reactant is always one. The reactant is always one. And the nature of this reactant is that it will be always compound, because the compound only can breaks up into its constituents. But product can be two or many. That means minimum products will be two and they can be more than that also. So the general, you can say the equation for writing the decomposition reaction is like we have a compound AB and under specific condition it is getting splitted into its constituents, that is A and B. So this splitting, this decomposition can occur under three conditions. First, in presence of light, second by passing current, and third in presence of light. So for example, if we take an example of presence of light, the decomposition that occur in presence of light is called as photo decomposition. Photo means light, decomposition means breakdown of a compound into its constituents. For example, if we take silver chloride in a dish, let's say we have a silver chloride in a dish and it is exposed to sunlight. So in sunlight, it will decompose and it will form Ag plus Cl2. So this is what is the reaction. So this is photo decomposition. Likewise, it can be electrolytic decomposition, that is the breaking of the reactant or a compound into its constituents by passing current. For example, if I have sodium chloride, that is NaCl, then we pass electric current through it and it breaks up into its respective ions, or we can write it as Na plus Cl2. So this is what is electrolytic decomposition. That is the decomposition on passing electric current. Third, it can be thermal decomposition. That is the decomposition reaction, the breaking up of compound into its constituents by heating. For example, if we have calcium carbonate and we heat it, then this compound will break up into its constituents. That is CaO plus CO2. Likewise, in this figure, we have copper carbonate, that is CuCO3. So when we heat it, as you can see in the figure, we took test tube and we put copper carbonate in it and we started heating it. And as a result, we get copper oxide and carbon dioxide. This copper oxide form is black in color. It is black in color, as you can see this black color in the tube. And the gas liberated is carbon dioxide. And now if you want to identify the gas which is liberated, you can carry out the test. Like for carbon dioxide, we know that we pass carbon dioxide through a lime water, right? So lime water is CaOH whole twice. We pass it through lime water and as a result, the milkiness appears, that is CaCO3, and along with that we get water vapor. So this is the test which proves that the gas which is liberated is carbon dioxide, and this is an activity, or you can say the process of thermal decomposition. So let us do one activity related to heating of ferrous sulfate. So in this case we have FeSO4. Now, when we are heating FeSO4, what we get to see is we get Fe3O4, and along with that it breaks to form SO2 and SO3 gas. So as you saw that we took test tube, we put FeSO4 into it, and with the help of burner we start burning it. So what happened? It gets broken and it forms Fe3O4, and along with that the gases are liberated with the pungent smell, that is SO2 and SO3. Next type of reaction is displacement reaction. As the name suggests, that in this reaction, some substances are going to get displaced. That is the change of place. So, displacement reaction is basically a reaction between the element and the compound. It is always between the element and a compound. For example, if I have an element A and I have a compound BC, right? So in this case, what is going to happen that this element is going to replace the other element of a compound. And this is possible only if this element is more reactive than the element of the compound. Now, is it more reactive or less reactive? That can be known through reactivity series. That can be known through a reactivity series. What is reactivity series? It is a kind of series, a tabular form in which the elements are arranged in according to their in order of their decreasing reactivities. That is, the element which is at top is most reactive, and in this order their reactivity goes on decreasing, and the least reactive is at bottom. So if this element is more reactive, then only the reaction will take place. It will displace B, and as a result it will form AC and B. So we have to follow reactivity series in this case. For example, if I take copper plus ZnSO4. So this is an element and this is compound. Now in this reaction, copper is going to displace zinc, but this is possible only if copper is more reactive and zinc is less reactive. So we'll refer the reactivity series for their reactivities, copper and zinc. So copper is here and zinc is here. So that means the element of a compound in this case is more reactive. So copper cannot displace zinc and this reaction won't take place. But let's do an activity, that is the reaction of zinc granules with dilute sulfuric acid. For example, we take a conical flask and in it we have zinc granules. Let us pour some dilute sulfuric acid into it and let them mix together. When they mix, they react, and as a result, the zinc react with sulfuric acid to produce zinc sulfate and hydrogen gas is released. The identification property for the reaction is that beaker becomes hot from outside and the gas hydrogen is liberated, which can be tested by just touching the beaker from outside, right? And this hotness can be tested by touching the beaker from outside, and hydrogen gas can be tested by bringing the matchstick near it. So when the matchstick is brought near it, it starts burning with pale blue flame and with popping sound. So this is what is the identification test for the hydrogen gas. So in this reaction, zinc is an element, H2SO4 is a compound. Zinc is more reactive than hydrogen, so it has displaced hydrogen and formed ZnSO4. Let's take another example. Let's say if I have Zn plus CuSO4. So for this reaction to take place, zinc should be more reactive than copper. And we have seen that the zinc is quite reactive than copper. So it will displace copper and will form Zn sulfate, zinc sulfate and copper. So this is what is displacement reaction. That is a reaction between element and compound in which more reactive element displaces less reactive element from its compound. The another reaction is double decomposition, or we can call it as the double displacement reaction. In the displacement reaction earlier we did that we have an element and a compound in which the element has to be more reactive and the compound element has to be less reactive, then only the displacement occurs. But when we talk about the double displacement, it is a reaction in which there is not a single element or a compound, there are two compounds are present in it. For example, if I say one compound is AB and other is CD, so what happens? They mutually exchange their ions. Let's say A has valency positive and B possess negative. Similarly, if I say C has positive and D has negative valency, so they will interchange their ions and the new combination will occur, that is A will combine with D to form AD and C combines with B to form CB. In this, we don't follow any reactivity series. It is just the mutual exchange of ions that is taking place. So both the cations are exchanged, both the anions are exchanged, and as a result we get different products. So this double displacement, or we can say the double decomposition reaction, can lead to the formation of two different types of reaction. It can lead to the formation of precipitate or it can lead to the formation of neutral substance. So accordingly, double displacement reaction can be precipitation or it can be neutralization reaction. Let's see what is the difference between the two. If I talk about precipitation reaction, it is a reaction between two compounds. Like the basic remains the same. Like for double displacement, we have two compounds. So in this also we have two compounds and they will mutually exchange their ions as we did in for the basic or the general equation involved in the double decomposition. So that is similar thing that is going to happen in here. So we get AD and we get CB. Right. But in this case, out of these two products, one is going to be a precipitate. That is the insoluble substance that settles or that is left behind. So precipitation reaction is the reaction between two compounds in which the ions are mutually exchanged, but it leads to the formation of insoluble substance that is precipitate. For example, as you can see in this figure, we are mixing these two liquids and when they are mixed together, they are two compounds, they are exchanging their ions, but it leads to the formation of the insoluble substance that is precipitate. As you can see that this is a precipitate of lead which is PbI2. Right. So this can occur, for example, if I say we have PbCl2 and we have potassium iodide. So when we mix them, we get PbI2 and we get KCl because they have mutually exchanged their ions. So Pb combines with I to form PbI2 and K reacts with Cl to form KCl. So this is what the example for the precipitation reaction. The another type is neutralization. It is basically a reaction in which the two compounds are involved. They are mutually exchanging their ions, but that leads to the formation of neutral substance. So let's take an example of double displacement again. Suppose we have a compound AB, we have another compound that is CD. They mutually exchange their ions. So we get these. So out of these products, one is the neutral substance. That is, it is neither acidic nor basic. So this is what is neutralization. So whenever the double decomposition or double displacement is taking place, either it will lead to the formation of neutral substance or it will lead to the formation of insoluble substance that is precipitate. Let's take the example for neutralization. Let's say I have an acid HCl and I have a base NaOH. Both of them when react together, it form NaCl and we get water. So this is what a neutral substance, that is NaCl, and the reaction is referred to as neutralization reaction. The another type of reaction is a redox reaction. See, redox reaction is actually a reaction in which oxidation and reduction both occur simultaneously. So now let's start that what is actually oxidation and reduction, because for knowing the redox reaction we should be clear about oxidation and reduction. So let's look for that. So we have oxidation and we have reduction. So we have two different concepts. In order to explain oxidation and reduction, let's learn the classical concept first. According to the classical concept, whenever oxygen is added to a substance, it gets oxidized. And if the hydrogen is removed from the substance, then also it gets oxidized. For example, if I have Mg and I add oxygen to it, it will form MgO. So if we compare left and right side Mg, we can see that on left hand side we just have Mg, but on right hand side O has combined with Mg. That means it is being oxidized. So this is what is oxidation. And in terms of hydrogen, we can actually explain the oxidation as, let's say we have sodium hydride. We are doing certain processes such that the Na and H2 gets separated. So on left hand side, it possesses H. It has H bonded with it. But if we compare it with the right hand side, the H is being removed. So that means that sodium is getting oxidized in this case. So whenever the oxygen is added or hydrogen is removed, the substance is said to be oxidized. Now let's take up reduction. So what is reduction? Reduction is like it is the removal of oxygen, or we can say that it is addition of hydrogen gas. Let's take an example. So if I have MgO and it is getting splitted into Mg and O2. So as you can see that O is being removed. So that means it is reduction. And if we have sodium and hydrogen is being added to it, and as a result hydrogen get bonded to Na. So in this case sodium is getting reduced. So I think you got it, that oxidation is the addition of oxygen or the removal of hydrogen, and similarly reduction is removal of oxygen or addition of hydrogen. So likewise, on the basis of classical concept, we can explain oxidation and reduction. Now, who is a traveling agent? Traveling agent is a person who makes you travel different places or visit or explore different places. So that means he is making you travel. Likewise, if I say oxidizing agent, that means it is an agent that is oxidizing the other substance, and in return itself it is getting reduced. Similarly, reducing agent is an agent which reduces other, and itself it gets oxidized. So I think you got it. What is oxidation, reduction, oxidizing agent and reducing agent. So now let's look for the redox reaction. So I told you that the redox reaction is a reaction in which oxidation and reduction both occur simultaneously. So let's take up an example. Let's say if I have CuO plus H2, and as a result the reaction that takes place is Cu plus H2O. Now in this case, if you compare the left hand side with the right hand side, you will see that on left hand side we have CuO, right? But on right hand side, the oxygen is being removed, and removal of oxygen is called as reduction. Similarly, if you talk about the hydrogen, so on left hand side hydrogen is present alone. But if we compare it with right hand side, it is getting bonded with oxygen atom. That is, oxygen is being added. That means hydrogen is getting oxidized. So the reaction in which oxidation and reduction both are occurring simultaneously, that reaction is called as redox reaction. Similarly, we can make out the oxidizing agent and the reducing agent. So oxidizing agent is that which oxidizes the other, right? So who is the one which is providing oxygen? Obviously it is copper oxide. So in this case, copper oxide, or you can say copper, is the oxidizing agent, and hydrogen is making copper reduced. So it is a reducing agent. So we can say that hydrogen is the reducing agent in this case. So likewise, you can formulate different reactions, and accordingly you can see that which substance or atom is getting oxidized and which atom or substance is getting reduced, and who is regarded as oxidizing or the reducing agent. Now let's do another concept, that is electronic concept. Now on the basis of electronic concept, we can define oxidation and reduction. But the question must be hitting your mind that what is the need for this concept, as we have already done classical concept. The reason being that there are few equations where you don't get to see oxygen or hydrogen, but oxidation and reduction are taking place in that case also. So how you're going to make that which substance is getting oxidized and which is getting reduced? So there we are going to take this concept, that is electronic concept. So let's say if I have a reaction Na plus Cl2 which forms 2NaCl. So now in this reaction I ask you that whether this reaction is redox reaction or not. So by looking at it, you can clearly make out that there is no oxygen in a hydrogen. And as for now, we have just studied that oxidation and reduction refer to addition or removal of oxygen or hydrogen. So that means accordingly this reaction is not regarded as redox. But it's not correct. This is also a redox reaction, and that can be explained on the basis of electronic concept. So let's see that how we are going to define oxidation and reduction on the basis of electronic concept. See, oxidation refers to an atom which donate electrons. As you know that in this reaction, sodium has lose one electron, and as a result it has acquired positive charge, and Cl has acquired one electron, and as a result it is acquiring the negative charge because it is accepting an electron. So the one which donates the electron is said to be oxidized, and the one which gains electron is said to be reduced. So I think you got it, that losing of electron refers to oxidation and gaining of electron refers to reduction. So accordingly we can define oxidation and reduction according to electronic concept. So this reaction is a redox reaction. In the similar manner, you can make out the oxidizing agent and the reducing agent. So in this, it is like oxidizing the other substance, right? And it is getting reduced. So that means it is getting oxidized and this is getting reduced. So that means this is a reducing agent because it is reducing the other substance. Right, and itself it is getting oxidized. Similarly, chlorine is the oxidizing agent because it is oxidizing the other. It is making other atom lose electrons because it is accepting. So that is the reason it is the oxidizing agent. So oxidizing agent is the one which oxidizes other and itself gets reduced, and reducing agent is the one which reduces other and itself gets oxidized. So as we saw, let's take another example again. So if we have Na plus Cl2, we form NaCl, and this we have already discussed. Let's take another example. Let's say if I have Mg plus O2 forming MgO. So in this case, we know that Mg is metal. It is 2 positive and oxygen is 2 negative. So Mg has lost its 2 electrons. So that means it is getting oxidized. And oxygen has gained electron. So that means it is getting reduced. So in similar manner, we can make out the oxidizing and reducing agent. This is the reducing agent and this is the oxidizing agent. So this is how you're going to prove that how the oxidation and reduction is taking place. And just looking at the equation, you can make out that you'll use the classical or the electronic concept for it. So we can say that redox reaction is a reaction in which oxidation and reduction both occur simultaneously. As we did many examples, let's take up one more. Let's say if I have Cu plus H2O, so we get CuO plus H2. Now in this case, oxygen is being added, so that means oxidation is occurring, and in this case oxygen is being removed, so that means reduction is taking place. This is oxidizing agent and this is reducing agent. And if we consider the electronic concept, we can take up the other reaction like Al plus O2 forms Al2O3. So in this, aluminium is getting oxidized and oxygen is getting reduced. And likewise, it is a reducing agent and oxygen is the oxidizing agent. So all these reactions are redox because redox means RED, reduction is taking place, and simultaneously OX refers to oxidation is taking place. So this is redox reaction. Now let's do few questions and answers. Let's take up this example. Let's take up this question. Why does color of copper sulfate solution changes when iron nail is dipped in it? Now iron nail is dipped in copper sulfate. That means we have iron nail as Fe and copper sulfate is blue in color. So we have CuSO4. So why the color change? This is because iron is more reactive according to reactivity series and copper is less reactive. So iron will displace copper. It will form FeSO4, which is green in color, and copper is displaced. So we can write it this way. When iron nail is dipped in blue color copper sulfate solution, the color fades. The reason being, iron being more reactive displaces copper to form iron sulfate, which is green in color. Another question is a shiny brown colored element. A shiny brown colored element X on heating in air becomes black in color. Name the element X and also the black color compound. The shiny brown colored element is copper. Copper is reddish brown in color. So when it is exposed to air or it is heated in air, so that means heated means it will combine with oxygen. So it will form copper oxide that is black in color. So the element is identified as copper and the black color compound is copper oxide. Another question is, oil containing food items are usually flushed with nitrogen. So what is the reason behind? See, all the food items that contain oil, when they are exposed to air, they get oxidized. They get oxidized, due to which they become rancid. They become rancid, that is unfit for eating purpose. Right. So they are flushed with nitrogen because nitrogen prevents rancidity in them. So how you're going to write? Oil containing food items are flushed with nitrogen because these food items can become rancid after some time, and the reason being the oxidation. And as a result, they will start giving bad smell and taste. So in order to avoid, they are flushed with nitrogen gas because it prevents the rancidity and prevents the food from becoming stale. Another question is, what happens when carbon dioxide is passed through freshly prepared slaked lime? So slaked lime we know is CaOH whole twice. So when we pass carbon dioxide to it, it forms the calcium carbonate, and due to which the milkiness appears, and along with that we get water. There is one important question. If I just change this question like, what happens when excess of CO2 is passed through lime water? Then the answer is somewhat different. So when excess CO2 is passed through lime water, so the reactants are going to be like this, but instead of forming calcium carbonate, it will form calcium bicarbonate. It will form calcium bicarbonate. And due to this formation of calcium bicarbonate, the milkiness disappears. The milkiness disappears. So I think you got it, that due to formation of calcium carbonate, milkiness appeared, but due to formation of calcium bicarbonate, the milkiness disappears. Another question is, what type of reaction are represented by following? You have different reactions and you need to explain that what type of reaction they are and what is the reason behind. So the first reaction is X plus Y forms X positive and Y negative. So in this case, they are getting oxidized and reduced because one is accepting, one is losing and one is accepting electron. Another is X plus YZ. That means it's an element and a compound. And what they're doing, this X is replacing the Z. Right? So that means this is a displacement reaction. Because in this case, X is more reactive than Z. In the third type, we have X and we see that it is only one reactant, but it is getting converted into two products. So we know that the reaction which involve a single reactant and two or more than two products, that is called as decomposition reaction. The another one is in which X and Z are simply combining and they are forming one substance. We know that when the product is single, the reaction is combination. Another question is, why do we keep food in airtight containers? We keep food items in airtight containers so that they should not come in contact with air and they should not get oxidized, they should not become stale, and it will prevent the rancidity. Another question is, why H2O2, that is hydrogen peroxide, is kept in colored bottles? The reason being that H2O2 in presence of light decompose and it decompose into water and oxygen. So to prevent its decomposition, that is the photo decomposition, it is stored in colored bottles to cut off the supply of light and to make H2O2 as and to retain this H2O2 and prevent it from decomposing. Another question is why we can't store silver nitrate with copper spoon. So silver nitrate is AgNO3 and copper spoon is Cu. So we can't store like this. The reason being copper is more reactive and Ag is less reactive. And according to reactivity series, we know that the more reactive can displace the less reactive. So if it is stored in this way, copper will displace silver and it will lead to the formation of copper nitrate and silver. So to prevent these reaction, or you can say to retain AgNO3 as AgNO3 and Cu as Cu, they are not stored in Another question is, when water is added to the white anhydrous substance, its color changes to blue. Let's say we have the white anhydrous substance as X, and when we add water to it, it forms blue color aqueous solution. So identify the X. So is it copper sulfate, ferrous sulfate, sodium sulfate, or lead sulfate? So it is copper sulfate. So copper sulfate, that is CuSO4, is the correct option because anhydrous copper sulfate is white in color, but when we add water to it, it becomes copper sulfate pentahydrate. That means it possesses blue color in it. Next question is, which of the elements can react with water? So the options are the carbon with water, iodine with water, sulfur with water, or sodium with water. So out of these reactions, sodium is the correct answer because these are non-metals, they cannot displace hydrogen. But sodium can displace hydrogen forming NaOH plus H2. Next question is, chlorine can replace which elements from the compound? Can it replace bromine, iodine, fluorine, or none? So chlorine can replace only those elements which are less reactive than chlorine. So it can displace bromine and it can also displace iodine. So bromine and iodine is the correct choice. Another question is, which compound is used in photographic films? Is it aluminium chloride, that is AlCl3, silver chloride, that is AgCl, zinc chloride, that is ZnCl2, or iron chloride? So out of this, silver chloride is the correct option because silver chloride is used in photographic films. Another question is, we have to write the action of heat on silver nitrate and lead nitrate. That means we have to write the thermal decomposition for silver nitrate and lead nitrate. We know that silver nitrate is AgNO3. So when you heat it, so what happened? When you heat it, it becomes Ag2O plus NO2. This is formed. But when you thermally decompose lead nitrate, which is PbNO3 whole twice, it gets decomposed on heating and as a result it forms Pb2O3 plus NO2 and we get O2. So this is the effect of heat on silver nitrate and lead nitrate. Thank you for watching this video, and for more learning experience, you can visit to www.wasarax.com. So with this, we finish the stoichiometry and the chemical reaction.